And then when it comes to our minds, you might be really curious right now about what's to come. You might be excited. Or maybe you're a little bit nervous when it comes to AI and technology. We've all heard the slogan before that maybe the robots are taking over. So although we're very optimistic here, some of you might be scared. If you are that person, then I'm sure our next speaker will put your mind to rest, because I am very excited to invite him up to the stage. He is a seasoned tech and AI veteran, multi-award winner. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he's got so much wisdom to share. Author, investor. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Stephen Ibaraki. There you go. Have fun.
So if I can have my presentation up so I can see it on the screen here. Okay, so thank you so much, and I want to welcome everybody. So I'm going to talk about riding the 10th machine wave together, and okay, great, it's advancing. So, and that's because we have a double exponential rate of innovation. So more innovation occurring in the next 5 years than the past 2 million years, which will have a radical inflection point for all life and all Earth ecosystems by 2030. And this is because of this magical convergence of supercomputing, quantum computing, chip technologies, biomedical innovation, and AI machine learning. And I'm going to give you examples of all of them. I've also reached out to the world's top experts to get their point of view for this keynote today, which I will share with you. But underlying these clips I'm going to play from these talks, experts, there's 1 to 3 hour conversations that I recommend you have a look. I'm also going to mention the names of some of these top leaders in the world, and you should make note of them and follow them, because they are shaping the future of your lives as you work together with them, riding the 10th machine wave together. So what are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves for the 10th machine age? Well, to show you the power of AI, I actually created an AI avatar of myself, so I don't get into copyright issues. It's going to read this slide in French. See if you can follow along with some of the key words that are in English about some of these questions we need to ask.
Donc, nous avons quelques questions à examiner. 3,5% peuvent initier un changement systémique. Il y a 500 trillions de richesses mondiales. Il y aura plus de transformations numériques dans les 5 prochaines années que dans les 2 derniers millions d'années. En fait, plus de 90% d'adoption mondiale de copilotes IA en un an. Plus de 80 nations élisent des dirigeants cette année. Le réchauffement climatique dépasse 1,5 degré Celsius depuis 24 mois et le glacier de l'apocalypse va s'effondrer. Comment assurer l'amélioration de la curiosité? L'apprentissage prospectif des marginaux. La pensée critique, la capacité d'empathie, l'agence individuelle, la responsabilité et une adaptabilité continue et ciblée.
So what are some of the other questions we need to ask because of the 10th machine age? Well, how about global education? By 2027, 70% of the workforce will need reskilling, for example, because of AI. How about decentralized finance like crypto? That's going to be at least $100 billion by 2025. It could even hit $2 trillion. How about harnessing the knowledge of indigenous knowledge systems? Indigenous people manage 25% of the world's land surface and are custodians of 90% of the planet's biodiversity. How about biotechnology advances? Genetically modified crops are valued at $100 billion by 2027. How about global cybersecurity threats, which is going to cost us $12 trillion by 2026, and there's already 50 billion security events per day. How about addressing planet's biodiversity? World wildlife populations have dropped by 70% since 1970. To illustrate further what I mean, I reached out to the world's largest UN agency, Innovation Accelerator, headed by Bernard Kowach, and you should start following this gentleman.
Thank you, Stephen. At the World Food Pro Innovation Accelerator, we are pioneering groundbreaking innovations that can help us end global hunger. Last year, our portfolio of innovations already impacted a total of 61 million people, and they've raised a total of $295 million of grant funding. Some examples. Hunger Map Live is a tool we've developed as a map that uses AI for even forecasting food security into the future. With the German Aerospace Center, we're developing a semi-autonomous vehicle that can be used in hard-to-reach areas where it's too risky for people to go into. And then a startup, Bomitra, is using AI, soil samples, and also satellite imagery so that smaller farmers use regenerative agriculture but also benefit of carbon credits. Now, together we can achieve a lot more, and we can end global hunger with innovation and technology.
So keep in mind, the World Food Program is an open platform. That means you can sign up online to follow them and support their different programs. All of you can individually participate. I'm also the founder of the United Nations ITU AI for Good. We have over 100 programs and projects. Again, it's an open platform. You can sign up online to participate and to support. For example, we have an innovation factory for startups. We have an impact initiative, an AI skills coalition. We have a program called Partners to connect all 8 billion people on the planet to the internet, and Giga to connect all schools to the internet. I'm now going to show you about our world's largest AI Solutions Sustainability Summit, where our reach is 3 billion.
The AI for Good Global Summit aims to bring together industry leaders to try and harness AI to further the UN's development goals in areas like health, climate, and sustainability.
How do we govern technologies if we don't yet know their full potential?
The main purpose of this summit is to explore how the AI solutions can help sustainable development.
AI will come to influence almost every aspect of our societies and economies.
AI 治理框架
AI for good.
I would say the most pressing topic at the summit is going to be how do you handle deepfakes, misinformation.
成为 AI for good.
Cumbre Mundial All for Good.
The good news is that the future of undetectable deepfakes can be avoided through the development and implementation of robust detection technologies and international standards.
Really seen as the fact that we can really affect amazing change, but we have to do this together, and we have to do it in collaboration with partners, with organizations, with institutions, and that's what's making me so excited about what AI for Good is all about.
One-third of humanity remains completely offline, excluded from the AI revolution.
Artificial intelligence is changing our world and our lives, and it can turbocharge sustainable development.
We are the AI generation, and this is our moment, and it's our responsibility to write the next chapter in the great story of humanity and technology.
This summit is free to attend physically, but you can also attend online. Just sign up. So how about trusted resources? Well, there's the ACM, or Association for Computing Machinery. We're the world's largest computing science organization, ranked #1 in the world. We have our communications of the ACM journal. It's actually free. We have our ACM Education Center with over 50,000 books, tutorials, podcasts, interviews, and more. We have a daily news brief. For example, we just recently announced the UN declaring next year the year of like quantum computing because it's so awesome. We also have the IEEE, which is the world's largest technology engineering organization and #1 in the world. And again, tens of thousands of free resources. And again, you can go online and sign up for all of these free capabilities. But we have a special program for students in both of these organizations. For example, you can sign up for $20 a year and you get access to so much more. That's for the ACM. Now, I wanted to show you again the power of AI, so I created a series of demo videos. Now, keep in mind, everything I'm showing you today, 3 years ago, was thought to be impossible or science fiction. For example, I took a photo and animated it. Everything you see here is 100% created by AI.
We introduced VASA. Our model is capable of not only producing lip movements that are exquisitely synchronized with the audio, but also capturing a large spectrum of facial nuances and natural head motions that contribute to the perception of authenticity and liveliness.
Global tech leaders unite, discover world-leading light, profound global change in sight.
Hey everyone, and welcome to, well, your own personal deep dive. Ever heard of Giga?
I think you're about to become very familiar with them, actually.
Well, this is good stuff. Really fascinating. Okay, so imagine a world where every single school, every single one, no matter how remote, has internet.
So the future of the world is here today. For example, we're now embodying AI machine learning into robots. The Unitree robot is going to be released for the home for under $16,000. There's a robot called Figure 2, already used by BMW, has autonomous capability. Another one called Atlas, just released with autonomous capability. Now, all of these AIs, it's across the spectrum, from chatbots to reasoning, like the OpenAI model 01 that reasons like a PhD expert. And now the release of millions of these agents that will do work for you automatically to innovation and experimentation and so on. And within 3 years, a master AI that can run an entire organization and even a country. And we're going to super AI. Now, right now, we are in a period of transition where we have classic human beings, like all of us here, you're classic. Some of us are augmented. For example, I have AI in my hearing buds. There are also hybrids. For example, some of us are already bionic, and some humans are getting genetically edited. And then we're heading to autonomous, with autonomous drones already coming out, autonomous robots, and taxis like in China. So we are in an amazing time. This was just released. The AI Scientist, and it's free, it's open source, open access, and it's free. It fully automates scientific discovery. In other words, it can generate a novel idea, automatically design an experiment around the idea, automatically execute on that experiment, analyze the results, and even write a scientific paper, and evaluate the paper for quality. Papers are already being submitted by this technology, and it can be adapted to things like physics and biology. So this is my view of technology adoption over the next few years. Financial services, for example, $160 trillion, healthcare, $18 trillion annually. But in the 90th percentile, the adoption of AI machine learning, and then the 50s for quantum computing and robots, and across all industries, AI machine learning in the 90s, and quantum computing and robots in the 40th percentile. Biomedical innovation is accelerating. For example, there's a scientist named Yamanaka. He received the Nobel Prize in 2012 for discovering 4 genes that you can insert into an adult cell, and you can rejuvenate it to being a stem cell. And then there's this amazing work occurring at the Terasaki Institute. Now, David Sinclair at Harvard is taking 3 of those Yamanaka genes. He's inserting them into aged mice, and he can rejuvenate them, make them younger. Imagine the possibilities for people. And then there's the amazing work at the Terasaki Institute. Now, Ali Kodamhasini is actually ranked in the top 10 in the world.
It's been shown that tear from the eyes can actually be able to have biomarkers that are associated with diseases like diabetes or dry eye disease, or even things related to mental health. So this ability to detect some of these biomarkers from the tear is something that we've been very excited about, but there's been very limited approaches to test this. Obviously, you don't want to have someone have to give you a tear sample to do it. So we've been interested in developing technologies that enables this in a very seamless, non-invasive manner. And one of the technologies that some of our scientists have developed is a contact lens, which is very comfortable, very much similar to existing commercial contact lenses, with the difference that it has the ability to detect these specific biomarkers in a real-time manner. So Omid, for folks who may not know, is a cultivated meat company. It's basically growing cells from livestock like cows in a bioreactor, in a so-called cultivator, very similar to a beer brewing process, to make large amounts of these cells to basically make meat without slaughter of animals. So we started that company about almost 3 years ago, and it's now just about to finish its next financing for Series B at this point.
Now we all now have supercomputers that are exascale. That means it can do 1 billion operations per second, and we're heading to zettascale, which is 1 trillion billion operations per second. That means it's more powerful than 1 billion iPhone 16s that just got released. That is so much power that you can model the entire planet, the human brain, entire factories, the universe. You can even create new drugs for healthcare, new kinds of batteries, help to optimize fusion reactors. We also now have quantum computing, which is becoming very mature. Over 300 startups working on things like being able to create new kinds of chip technologies or new kinds of ways to do finances. Quantum computing can do things that supercomputers cannot do. It's impossible. In fact, you can think of them as a quintillion times better than a supercomputer. And again, healthcare, better batteries, new kinds of fertilizer, solving aging. Now, the human brain has 100 billion neurons, and I estimate 250 trillion computational connections. Now, there's a really famous scientist. In fact, he's #1 in AI. His name is Geoffrey Hinton. He used to work for Google last year. He quit so that he could talk more openly about AI. And he just won the Nobel Prize in physics for his work in AI, because his AI pioneering actually drives all the AI you see today. He is saying that this AI is going to be smarter than us in a few years. There's also this new kind of AI called KAN or Khan, which I think is another major breakthrough, which could even make this even accelerate further. Well, there's another breakthrough happening. It's being led by Demis Hassabis, who's the co-founder of DeepMind, so Google DeepMind. In fact, he heads up all of AI for Google right now. And Demis actually just won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for his work. So these are the first times the computer scientists ever won Nobel Prizes. So he's won a Nobel Prize for his work with DeepMind AlphaFold, and they just released AlphaFold 3. AlphaFold 3 can actually show how amino acids fold into these 3D protein structures. In fact, over 200 million proteins. And if you can do that, there's thousands and thousands of applications, like for the environment, renewable energy, green chemistry, evolutionary history, new kinds of drugs, healthcare, it's endless. By the way, the known protein universe 5 years ago was only 200,000, and it took 70 years to get there. If you were to ask the scientists back 5 years ago, except for Demi Hassabis, and saying, boy, can we know the structure of 200 million proteins? They would have said, you're crazy, it's science fiction, it won't happen. And in fact, if you asked them when would it happen, they would say, well, maybe 100,000 years, and it'll take $100 trillion. And guess what? It's happened. Chip technologies are accelerating. For example, there's this new kind of chips that use light that potentially is 1,000 times more powerful and uses 1,000 times less energy. Philip Wang, who's at Stanford, he's the #1 chip scientist in the world. He's invented a new kind of chip technology called carbon nanotubes, which are already being produced. And again, they're faster and use less energy. Now, I reached out to John Hennessy for an update for my keynote today, because he invented with David Patterson in the 80s a new kind of chip architecture that's used in all chips today. He's also the past president of Stanford, ranked #1 in the world. He's also the chairman of Alphabet Corporation, which owns Google. And for example, he's actually Demi Hassabis's boss and used to be Jeffrey Hinton's boss. So here's John Hennessy. And by the way, he's one of the most famous founders and investors of billion-dollar companies.
Given the slowdown in Moore's law, issues with energy efficiency, and the answer to that is sort of multi-chip 3D stack kinds of things, probably using integrated circuit technology to allow extremely high density interconnects to be done. The real challenge after that is there a technology to replace silicon? Philip's worked on carbon nanotubes. There are a couple other thoughts out there. You know, you've got a module that's, say, this big, that's got 50 chips on it, mounted and connected at very high density with something that's similar to the on-chip interconnect. And then that module connects to an adjacent module, which will be right next to it with photonics. I mean, you don't build. A car has more than 1,000 chips in it now. So you basically, everything that's modern is covered with silicon.
And then here's Philip Wang, who's also the chief scientist at Taiwan Semiconductor. And the next topic is on wireless implantable biosensors. I just love this topic, so.
I think we could then put a chip inside a cell and communicate with it. And the next thing we want to do is to affect the behavior of the cell. And for example, having a means to maybe release a drug or something like that.
Now there's this concept called now hyper Moore's law, with AI accelerating by factor 3 times every year because of all of this change that's occurring in chip technologies and so on. It wasn't that long ago that you only had 1 billion transistors in a chip. Now NVIDIA, which is the world's top manufacturer of AI chips, has created a new chip being manufactured by the #1 chip company in the world, the manufacturing company, Taiwan Semiconductor, which I already mentioned. Their Blackwell chip has 208 billion transistors. And Apple just released their iPhone 16, and it contains this tiny chip called the A18 bionic chip, and it contains like 27 billion transistors, and it can do 35 trillion operations per second. That's a supercomputer in your hand. Okay, great. I also reached out to Krista Savor. She's one of the world's top experts in quantum computing and supercomputing and AI machine learning. Again, every name I mention, I recommend you follow because they're changing the world with you. Now, I'm not going to play the video because of limitations in time, but what she talks about is that this fundamental unit within a quantum computer, it's physical, it's called a quantum bit or qubit. The problem is it's fragile, it breaks down, it's subject to errors. You can't do anything with it. And they call that level 1. Well, in April, they had a major breakthrough working with another company called Quantinuum, where they were able to reduce the errors by 800 times. Just blows your mind, 800 times. With that kind of stability, then give a word for that, fidelity, you can start doing real work and solving some of the biggest mysteries of the universe. And they call that level 2. And when you scale this so it's everywhere, that's level 3. She also talks about Microsoft launching a new service called Azure Quantum Elements. It's in the cloud. Each one you can subscribe to it. It combines supercomputing with quantum computing, AI, machine learning. And they wanted to prove it's already useful. So they said, well, what if we can create a new kind of battery? And so they took that challenge on. They sorted through 32 million different kind of battery candidates. It took 80 hours using this technology. Without this technology, it was impossible. It would have taken at least 40 years. They finally created a battery. They settled on one material, created, and it works, and it uses 70% less lithium. Now, when I talked to Krista, I said, I'm supposed to do a keynote here at this amazing world rank conference. It's just like outstanding. And I said, it's going to be students. I said, well, what about students? Are they left out? She said, Stephen, no problem. She says, we made a service called a Copilot. It's free. And she's inviting all of you to go online and try it, and try writing programs for quantum computers. There's an AI assistant that will guide you in how to do it. Okay, remember I mentioned the word Quantinium? Well, this is the founder of Quantinium. His name is Elias Kahn. And they just announced another major breakthrough. Teleportation, it's like Star Trek, teleportation of quantum bits. I mean, or logical quantum bits, like magic. Now, the video piece I'm going to play is where he's going to talk about some of the applications of quantum computing, like solving aging in 4 years, or solving all the big mysteries of the universe in the computational biology in 4 years. So here he is.
I would recommend that people start thinking about the impact of quantum computers together with large language model type generative AI systems and obviously high performance compute clusters in the context of computational biology. It's not about living forever. It's about living longer and living with dignity so that we're no longer tackling the symptoms of aging, but we've tackled the root cause. And so things like oncologies and various oncologies, as well as Alzheimer's and senility and diabetes and other sort of related illnesses that are immune deficiencies. These are now really within reach. I would encourage people to think about that. And of course, the economic value of that is that it's incomparable. Nothing comes close. Nothing comes close. So that's one. And then the other thing, so that's the thing to contemplate. And the question to ask, I think, would be, where should my organization now start thinking about the impact of quantum, either with my competitors or in my own processes? And I think it's now time to start doing that.
So they've just released their roadmap of their quantum computers, and they work on multiple generations at the same time. So the Helios quantum computer, which is not made public yet, but will be made public next year, over a period of years is 1 trillion times more powerful than the H2 model, which they released last year, and 1 trillion times more powerful than the H1, which they released in 2020. And in 2029, they're going to release their first edition of what's called universal quantum computing. That's level 3. That means it's stable, and they can solve all of the great mysteries of the universe, like aging and cure for cancer, you name it, new kinds of batteries. Imagine a battery you put in your phone, you charge once, and it lasts 30 years. Mind you, you won't have a phone then. You'll have a neural implant. So that's the ramification of all of this. Now, this is near the end of my presentation, writing the 10th machine wave together. So I talked about we're at this point of a double exponential rate of innovation, more innovation in the next 5 years than the past 2 million years, and it's all converging now, today. That means you're going to live where within 5 years, government, organizations, education, society, everything that you think is out there is going to radically transform. and it's going to give you all sorts of opportunities. Food security, climate, all of the big problems will be to be solved with this next magical moment that's coming. You will be to merge with this intelligence that's upcoming, with these technologies that are coming. Can you imagine if you had the capability of 1 million times in terms of your ability to conceive of ideas and creativity and problem solving? That's going to happen in the next 5 years. You're going to have that kind of capability. And that's because of this magical convergence for the first time in history of supercomputing, quantum computing, chip technologies, biomedical innovation, and AI and machine learning, and I shared with you the top experts in the world. You're going to live with us, co-creating all of this. So let's ride the 10th machine wave together for a brighter and sustainable future. So I want to thank you. Allow me to share some of my insights with you.